So you have a very overview picture. Why it is so important? Because then you can see what are the problems and how to solve them. And if you continue to have a dialogue with the private sector on issues that you think you can be solved, it's a very, very important tool, this type of chief scientist, because I can tell you, at least in my time, we did many things by the office which do not relate to financing. The incubator program, the Yozma program, things like that. And you couldn't have done it without sitting there and see what are the problems. You know, in the 90s, we saw that small companies do nicely the research, they get grants, they finish the research, they say, we succeeded, look at the results, but nobody wants to buy the product. So there was very clear understanding that we are good in research, we are not good in marketing or in management of such companies. That's why the venture capital started. And enough.
Well, I think that unfortunately we have to stop here because, as I mentioned, Sunil did not sell me even 5 minutes of his time. And in Israel, the last word is of the government. 2 words about Jonathan Levy, who's the economic attaché for a chunk of territory in Canada. All of Canada, well, even better. Sorry for that. And reflections on what we said from Jonathan. I have to say that Jonathan is certainly unique. He represents the government of Israel, but he's extremely entrepreneurial, and I can say that I have a friend in the government.
Thank you very much, Rafi. Wow, what a venue. Really, I salute you, Rafi, and also the Senator for putting together such a wonderful venue today. I was invited to share with you a little bit some of my thoughts and comments from the discussion, the panel that Rafi was heading now, and some of the former speakers from before. But I want to start, I'm fortunate to hear today the Minister of Research and Innovation of Ontario, Glenn Murray, for the 3rd time. And when I heard him last week, he had many inspiring words and thought-provoking messages. One of them resonated in particular, and that is that innovation as the product of creativity. And I would dare say that innovation is the product of creativity and execution, the ability to drive the innovation forward, and a product and not the sum, because if any of these is 0, then the end result will also be 0. I am proud of the fact that so many of the speakers here today are coming from Israel, and many of the other speakers have also referred to Israel in their speeches. And although it is my job, I'm excited and I'm moved every time that Israel is being brought up as a model. And the Senator mentioned before the limitations of governments and the need not to rely on governments. Well, I think that one book, which many have referred to today, has been capable of changing Israel's image and educating people about Israel more than all the spokespersons and all the government representatives of Israel over a very long time. So what is it, in fact, that turns Israel into an innovation hub? I believe that innovation is not a magic wand that you just lift, and the answer is quite complex, and the book Startup Nation tries to answer some of the reasons why Israel has become such a key player in the global innovation. I believe that what the speaker mentioned before that in Israel there's a tolerance to failure is something quite fundamental. As a matter of fact, the approach of failure in the entrepreneurship process as part of the learning process and something that is sometimes necessary and can be learned from. Also earlier in the day, it was mentioned how it is particularly challenging for small populations and small countries in not relying on their own internal markets, but reaching out to those markets that are sometimes far away, particularly in the case of Israel, where some of the most natural trading partners are not in existence due to our geopolitical situation. As a matter of fact, this event and initiatives that are currently taking place both on the federal government and also in the provincial government, and the Premier of Ontario has led a delegation to Israel in spring that was very much focused on innovation, and so did previous delegations from Quebec, an upcoming visit from British Columbia, and I hear that Saskatchewan and Alberta are also on the road to visiting Israel soon. And I believe that all these initiatives are aiming to promote collaboration between Canadians and Israel. Together, I believe we can raise not only the levels of innovation, but also the rate of the execution, bringing together the relative strengths that we both have. In just brief, I'd like to tell you about the economic mission to Canada, which I lead. The Israel Economic Mission acts as a channel in bringing together companies from Israel and Canada. We are initiating delegations and events in various sectors of high potential, including IT, clean tech, and life science. Next week, 2 delegations will be visiting Israel from Canada. The first in nanotechnology. They will attend the Nano Israel conference, and the second in security, attending a Homeland Security event in Tel Aviv. Next month, we'll be hosting here a group of 15 Israeli software companies for an event we call Banking on Israel IT, the second annual event which aims to bring together Israel's strong capabilities in IT with a strong financial sector in Toronto in particular. And we are being sponsored by the TSX, and I see Raymond King in the corner, and by IBM. And we look forward to continue working together with MaRS Innovation and with many of our partners in realizing the potential between Canada and Israel. And again, I'd like to conclude by thanking Senator Jerry Grafstein and Dr. Rafi Hofstein and all the speakers who have come from near and far to this conference today. Thank you.